Hello everyone, and welcome to another Mondays with Michelle video. Today's topic, Dade Registers. Basically, William Dade, a Yorkshire clergyman, was the person who has been associated with the Dade Registers. And his claim to fame, he added a lot of extra information to the registers, primarily the burials and the baptisms. And this was long before the standard forms were introduced. So the period of time we're talking about is 1777 to 1812. So this is long before civil registration, long before our census records. So this is where we are normally getting baptisms that read something like, Mary Smith, daughter of John and Elizabeth Smith, and that's all you get. So not very helpful when it comes to tracing back further. Now, although Dade Registers are probably best known for being a Yorkshire phenomenon, it's not the only county that has them. They are actually in other areas of England. And something I hadn't realized, there was actually a similar scheme in Durham put forth by Bishop Shute Barrington. So there are these registers that are called the Barrington Registers. And there was information similar to what William Dade was promoting for the Yorkshire Registers. The term Dade Registers has been used just to group all these registers that have extra information. And while I was looking into Dade Registers, I discovered this wonderful website, Brigham Young University website. And I'll just show you that website. So the Brigham Young website has all this information on the Dade Registers on all kinds of other topics as well. But the Dade Registers, what I want you to take a look at, this very last paragraph has two really important links. One is a download link to a spreadsheet that lists every parish that has a Dade Register. And I'll just show that to you. So the nice people at Brigham Young University spent a lot of time to put this spreadsheet together, and the spreadsheet has the county. It lists the parish that has a Dade Register. It gives you the dates of the register. But what I really like is this column here is telling you all of the information that that Dade Register contains. And you look at some of this information, for instance, for the parish of Badsworth, the baptisms gives you the name, the parents' names, and their parents' names. It gives birth date. Some of them also give seniority in the family. It'll say whether it's the first child, the fourth child. So you're getting a lot more information than you normally would. As far as the burial information, if I just extend this, you are getting information that's much closer to what we would see in the modern parish burial registers. So you're getting the person's name. But the nice thing is a lot of these Dade Registers also give the relationship to another member of the family. So you don't just get Mary Smith, you get Mary Smith, daughter of William Smith. You get both the date they died and the date they were buried. And a lot of times you're also getting the age and the cause of death. So considering, again, this is back in the late 1700s, that's the kind of information that can make it so much easier to trace back through the generations and be sure you have the correct burial for your family group. The other link I want to show you on this Brigham Young University Dade Register information page is this one. They have this lovely map. So if you're a visual person, there's this lovely map showing all the Dade registers in England. So the colored dots represent areas where there are Dade registers. And as you can see, they are spread throughout England. And if you click on one of the dots, like I've clicked down here in Gloucestershire, so it tells me the name of the parish, it tells me the county, when the registers begin. So that would be a Dade parish down in Gloucestershire. You notice that Yorkshire has a very high concentration. So this dot, it actually has 14 parishes in that area, and we could zoom in to see more detail. We've got 15 parishes here, 12 here, 9 here, and again, you can zoom in so you start to appreciate just how many parishes had Dade registers. So what I'd like to do now is let's take a look at what those registers look like. So let's take a look at the parish of Addingham at a baptism from 1811. So this is a transcript of a baptism entry. We have a child named Robinson, who's the son of Richard Brigg, a weaver, who is the son of Henry Brigg, a worsted spinner, by Margaret, daughter of Richard Thornton of Bradley, Slater, and of Mary, daughter of Thomas Robinson, cotton spinner, by Nancy, daughter of Thomas Mann of Beckfoot, parish of Ilkley, farmer, born November 3rd, baptized December 29th. This is the actual entry from Ancestry. So it's a little bit easier to see what's going on when you see the information arranged in columns. So this particular parish, they actually had the information in columns. I have seen it written more as a paragraph, like what you see at the top of the page here. But you can see the different columns. Now, what I have boxed in red is all the extra information you're getting that we would not normally expect to see in a baptism from this era. Now, let's look at what that means to us in terms of building the family tree. This is our standard information that we would expect to see. We've got Robinson Brigg, his parents, Richard Brigg and Mary. We know that Richard's a weaver from Addingham, and we know that the baptism occurred December 29th, 1811. So normally that's what I would expect to get from a parish register. But we get extra information. We find out Robinson's birth date. We find out Richard Brigg's father's name and his occupation and where the father's from, which can certainly help us in then finding out proof of Richard's baptism, because at least we know what parish the father's from. We find out Richard Brigg's mother's name, and by the way, her maiden name and her father and where they were from. We find out Mary's maiden name. She's Mary Robinson. So that's Robinson's mother. We find out her father and that he was a cotton spinner from Addingham. We find out her mother, including her mother's married name or maiden name and Nancy's father and his occupation. So there's an awful lot of information that we've been able to get just from one baptism. You can see how much we've been able to fill in on a family tree. Let's look at another example. This is from the Holy Trinity Goodram Gate Parish. And again, it's a baptism. So this one is much shorter, but there's some interesting information. We have Sarah, the first daughter and third child of Alexander Grant, laborer, by Grace, his wife, late McNaughton, born April 18th, baptized May 18th, Trinity. And the Trinity is just referring to the baptism occurred at Holy Trinity Goodram Gate Church. So here's the Find My Past entry. So as you can see in this case, it's written more like just a paragraph. But this is the extra information. We've got first daughter, third child. We've got the maiden name of the mother. And we've got the birth date, not just the baptism date. So let's see how this plays out. Here's our standard information. Sarah Grant, father Alexander Grant, mother Grace, occupation laborer. She was baptized May 18th, 1790. But we know she's the first daughter and the third child. So if I'm filling out a pedigree chart, I know I'm looking for 2 older brothers to Sarah. I know that Sarah was born in April 18th, 1790. And I know that her mother's maiden name is McNaughton. So I've got a lot of clues to now search back further. So that's the baptisms. Let's take a look at what else we can get for those burial entries. So here's a Find My Past burial for John Braithwaite of Acomb. It gives his occupation. He's a gentleman. And the number on the side at the left, I suspect that's probably the grave number, or it just might be that they were sequentially numbering all of the burials. I've seen some parish registers where it does refer to the grave number. Now, this is the other half of the page. I wanted to have everything large enough that you could actually read it, so I've split it into 2 areas. So we find out that John Braithwaite died April 26th, and he was buried on April 30th. We find out his age of 70, and we find the cause of death, palsy. So we're getting that combination of information that we would normally expect to see on a death certificate, but this is back in 1797. So I find this very handy. Now, let's take a look at family search, because a lot of times you might find that Ancestry or Find My Past don't have those parish register images. So you might want to look at Family Search in their card catalog, but the reality is most of those parish register films can't be viewed from the comfort of your home. You need to go to a Family Search library or an affiliate library. But there are alternatives. Family Search does have a lot of books that are transcripts of those parish registers, and they have been very busy digitizing all those books. So you can actually look at a lot of these digitized books online. And even though it is not the original image, the advantage is you are seeing all of those extra pieces of information because it is a complete transcript of the register. And you can then request an image by looking up the appropriate film in the family search card catalog and sending an online image request. So I like the fact that these digitized books are an alternative and that you can view them from home. So let's see how you search for those books. So here's what I did. I went to search and catalog. And so now I'm in the family search card catalog. And I showed you earlier that entry for Addingham, the baptism entry, which had all those generations of information. So I'm just going to type in a place search. I typed in Addingham. And if we scroll down, I get my list of everything related to Addingham. And if I expand the church records, and you notice in purple here at the bottom, there are 2 entries for Addingham Parish Registers. This bottom one says to view a digital version, click here. This first one is the list of films with the key. So this is the reference I'm going to need to give the people at Family Search if I want them to pull the actual baptism image and send it to me. But in the meantime, I can go in, click on this second link. If I click on the first link, I've got a copy of this published transcript of the parish register. And if I click to view inside, I'm in the register. There is another way, let me just go through, to pull up those books, the digitized books, and that's by going to the search menu and selecting books, which is basically what I did here. I always like to click on advanced search, and we can type in Addingham. And in the title, I like to put parish register. In other words, give me everything to do with Addingham that's going to have the word parish register in the title of that record. And I'll just click search. And it brings me up all of these documents. There's my index. There's the book that we were just looking at. So there's a couple ways you can get to the information. The advantage of doing the book search, which I just showed you, is you are searching not just what the Family History Library has digitized, but they have partnered with other libraries and other companies to make their digitized information available. So if you do a specific search of the books, you are going to be accessing information potentially that is outside of what the Family History Library holds in Salt Lake City. If you go through the card catalog, you are looking at what the Family History Library has in their holdings. But either way, it means you can get at that information. So I searched here on Heslington. And if we scroll down, there's the parish of Heslington. And this is what the register looks like. So if I enlarge this so it's easier to see, again, this is a register that is giving you that birth order. So this entry at the top, we see April 22nd, Jane, the 4th daughter and 7th child of William Usher Farmer, and Margaret, his wife, and here's her maiden name, Late Hansrell, born April 2nd. So there's an awful lot of information you can get from these Dade registers. I hope you enjoyed learning about Dade registers. I do have a handout with links to the websites that I discussed. You'll find it in the paragraph describing this video immediately below the video on YouTube. Thanks for watching.